I have several kind of related things. I just heard the number that the city of Providence now pays $78 million a year on its pension payments. Is that the right number?
Currently 83.
83, okay.
It grows each year by 3.5%.
Okay, that makes sense. I looked at the website of the Providence Water Supply Board and their financial statement, and I'm hoping I read it right, says they take in about $71 million a year. It's been pretty consistent the last 3 years.
I believe that the last budget, sir, was 78 million.
78? Okay, because the one I saw was 71, but it could have been a year behind.
I think 71 is pure water revenues, and then there's $5 million transfers of other revenue attributes.
Okay. And it seemed like it cost the system about $55 million to keep itself running. Was that right?
So, a good point. People should know this, that by PUC regulation, 35% of the water revenues must be put into an infrastructure repair replacement fund, or in this case, roughly 29 million. And the balance goes to operations, and if there is reserve or surplus, that continues to provide for other operations. To the city of Providence, we only receive a city services payment that's equal to $883,000 annually, and that hasn't increased in multiple number of years, and that's meant to offset the cost for accounts payable, IT, payroll processing, etc., etc.
Okay, because I'm trying to figure out how the lease payments would come to the city. I mean, it seems like the way you presented it, that there would be a big upfront payment, and then there would be a payment to the city of $48 million a year. And using the numbers that you just said, a $48 million payment to the city that the city could add on top of their pension payments would be, reasonable based on the numbers of what the thing did. But so with adding $8 million a year to your pension payments, do what you said, but you need a big upfront payment. Because I'm trying to figure out how, if the revenue is about $70 million a year, that so you can get $8 million, but over the so that's about equal to their profit, and so over a 30-year period, their profit would be $240 million. Given inflation, it would be more and stuff. But it sounds like that's what we're getting out of it. 30 years is $240 million. It seems like, based on these numbers, that's about what they would get on it. How does that catch us up on a $300 billion liability?
So a few things. First, I don't want to get too much into a specific transaction because I want to be clear that we don't have one before us. But the way that those types of transactions work, there are 3 ways. First, there's you cannot take an upfront big payment and just have annual payments from whoever is the operator. That's one option. Another option is to take a combination of an upfront payment and then payments throughout the course of the agreement. And what was the first one I said? Was it the upfront payment? Yeah. Yeah, and then the other one is to take no upfront payment and to just do payments throughout the course of the agreement. Normally, if you're getting an upfront payment, it's because the partner is bonding on their side to be able to pay upfront a lot more. And then oftentimes when cities are getting an annual stream, the city would instead bond to get a bigger upfront investment. So they can be structured in a lot of different ways. So it's hard for me to opine further on kind of like exactly how the amounts would come together. But those are kind of the 3 examples or 3 ways that a lot of these deals come together.
Looking at it all 3 ways, it still doesn't add up to $400 million.
And all I'm saying is I gave an example up there. 300, yeah. Numbers,
and if you're looking for a big payment up front,
yep.
The revenue of the Providence Water Supply Board doesn't give you enough money to get a big pay for the company to make a profit by giving you a big payment and then paying $4 to $8 million a year. It doesn't add up. doing it using the numbers from the water supply board, it doesn't add up to the company making enough profit. And even if they're a little bit more efficient, let's say they're 10% more efficient, that's another $2 or $3 million a year. It doesn't add up to $400 million.
Right, and that assumes that the transaction is based upon 400 million. Again, we're just giving that as an example, just because that is what the asset valuation came in at. Well, the pension needs $1 billion, but to create payments that are sustainable for the city to pay, 300 to 500 million would be meaningful.
Enough infusion of cash in there and expect the company to be able to make a profit when these numbers don't add up to let them do that.
So I would need to look at the numbers you have on your, okay.
They don't add up, and the way they get the money is raising the rates and decreasing the cost, not investing in infrastructure and maintaining the infrastructure, and laying off workers and not allowing unions.
Okay.
So that's the way they make the money.
So I just want to reinforce some things that have been said by all of the panelists up here. There's some critical things that would be absolutely necessary, or the city would just not move forward with such a partnership. The partnership would have to include an agreement to protect the watershed, an agreement to have rate caps in place, and an agreement to protect the labor force. It also would require the city to be able to get at least enough of a cash infusion to stabilize the pension fund. If the city can't reach an agreement with a partner that would achieve all of those things, the city would not move forward. The city is not just hurtling forward.
The bills at the state level, because they don't allow that. They don't ask for it. They don't demand it. They don't change laws. They actually give up regulations.
So we hear that it's frustrating that we don't have exact numbers, we don't have a transaction in front of us, and we're trying to have this conversation. The state legislation would allow us to entertain a transaction, and without having the authority to enter such a transaction, no company is going to put together or invest in dialogue with us so we can actually start learning the hard answer, the answers to those questions. The truth is, we don't know. We don't know what we don't know. And we are trying to pursue this to the greatest length possible so we can find out and go through that process. And as Jeff said, if the numbers don't work, if they can't offer those protections, there's no transaction.
So I just want to be mindful. So I think we can take one or two more questions and comments. Wait 1 second.